Good morning. We're going to try something a little tricky, so you guys have to pay attention today. We need a slide up there. So I'm going to start us off, and the part on this side are going to say, come in, and the folks on this side are going to say, be among us. There you go. So, to all who are yearning for community, come in, be among us. To all who are just getting started, to all who long to go deeper, to all with tender places needing care. Be among us. To the ones who have healed and have care to give, to those who are curious and hungry to learn, for those who know that they have something to teach. Be among us. For the ones who are just beginning to suspect that they might nurture others becoming. To the young and the old, the innocent and the jaded, the fresh of mind and the deeply steeped, there is room here for each and every one. Be among us. Good morning again. My name is Pam Romancic. I'm a queer, white, cisgender woman whose pronouns are she and hers, and I am blessed to serve this vibrant church. I am also someone who loves to use a snowblower, and I got to do that this week. So, yeah. Whoever you are, whatever identities you bring to this hallowed place, you are welcome here this morning.
We light this chalice in the name of love. The love of family that brings us into being, allows us to bloom, and then sends us on our way with courage, knowing that we can return no matter what. The love of partnered hearts that teach us to trust and help us to know that who we are does not end at the barrier of our own skin. The love of friends who help us feel seen and sing our song back to us when we cannot hear it with our ears alone. The love of community that bathes us in belonging and calls us to see the needs of others as our own. And the greatest love of all, the love that will not let us go even in our fear, even in our failure, even when we are lonely or lost. Love invites us home. If we listen, it is doing so, even today. Hello, my name is Vlad Krasiv, and my pronouns are he, him. Our church shares a covenant that we make with one another, a promise that helps to remind us of why we gather and how we want to be with one another. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in saying our covenant together, and remain standing for our opening hymn. We unite to strengthen the bonds of kinship among all persons, to promote human dignity, and to increase reverence for life's creating, sustaining, and transforming power through worship, study, and service.
We're in the midst of our annual pledge drive right now, and just like NBR time, it's kind of annoying, but it's very, very necessary to the strength and ongoing beingness of this community. So we're going to hear today from Joy Simon, and she's going to share how she shines her light. And then after we listen to Joy's sharing, we're going to sing This Little Light of Mine, just one verse. So I'm going to invite, where is Joy? Oh, there you are.
You probably didn't know this, but I am the poster woman for the song in Oklahoma, I'm just a gal that can't say no, because here I am again. They must be hard up for speakers. I've been a CCUU member for 47 years. I think I have spoken about stewardship 40 of those years. Well, that is probably an exaggeration. I do say the same thing over and over, so it will be new to the new people, and the rest of you have permission to take a quick snooze. I've been a choir member for 46 years. I haven't gotten any better, but you're never fired from a church choir. It's like being in the mob. Once you're in, it's a lifetime commitment, right? Well, that's another slight exaggeration. I was a registered certified psychiatric nurse for 40 years. It was perfect for me. I tell you all this boring information because I wanted to underscore my longevity and commitment to Countryside. There are people here who I truly love, and I always say, every time, that I feel connected to all of you here. You wouldn't be here if you did not believe in our values, our tenets, our principles, and the importance of community. You wouldn't recite as one our beloved covenant every Sunday. To me, that connects us one to another. Last year, I pushed to increase my pledge, and I hope to maintain that this year. I get back so much more than I ever give to this church. Unexpected events impacted my increase. I have this naive, unrealistic, fixed thought that once a church, a mosque, any kind of religious institution was built, it would last on and on and on. But Reverend D told me last year that there were 2 UU churches that closed. I know that there are small UU churches and fellowships that are struggling, and I know of a Jewish congregation in the northwest suburbs, in the North Shore actually, that disbanded. That was very sobering to me. I want this church to be here long after I am gone as a beacon, a light in the Northwest community to those seeking a liberal church and a liberal community. Reverend Pam spoke on February 2nd, and I felt it was one of the most motivational and inspiring stewardship sermons I have ever heard by any minister. I urge you to look it up if you missed it. You know, we are all bombarded by donation requests from very good charities that we would all like to support. St. Jude's, Shriners, Cancer, go on and on and on. So many. I give a little here and there, but the bulk of my funds for donations are offered to Countryside. I feel the best about my contribution to Countryside because, of course, I enjoy personal ongoing benefits and I want it to survive. But I also see every May, line by line, where our money goes. There's no mystery, no hidden questions, it's all there, and I like that. I have an idea. Why don't they record my words, and when I'm gone, they could replay them at a stewardship sermon just for old time's sake in the future? Nah, that would be awkward, never mind. In view of our unsettling, worrisome, anxiety-producing times, I end with the words from the amazing Maya Angelou. We may not have control over the events that happen, but we can decide to not be reduced by them. Let these words guide us through these unpredictable times, and please pledge as you can with your money and with your heart.
That was awesome, Joy. We are saving the recording as we speak. Now is that time when we get to wonder a little bit together. So I'm going to invite our young and young at heart to come up. The video is going to be on the screen, though, so you might want to stay back in the chairs a little bit. Or in your own chair. You don't have to come up, but you still have to wonder, even if you don't come up. So let's just think for a moment. Today's service is called There Are No Bad Parts. I'm not sure if that gives you a hint or not. But we are talking about how to welcome other people, how to be inclusive. So what do you think? Let's just take a few seconds to wonder what might be something in the box that would include people, invite them in. Okay. Do you have any guesses of things? Yes, William.
A heart and a hand.
A heart and a hand. And open arms. That is an excellent guess. Yes. Any other guesses this morning? Anything else came up for anybody? An invitation. That would be a nice guess. Did you have a guess? Would you like to guess? Okay. Okay, well, would you like to open the box today? Okay, let's see what's in the Wonder Box. What is it? It's a plate. Yeah, you want to hold it? It's a plate. Why would a plate might be welcoming to people? Can you think of it? Yes?
Because as it gives them food.
Because you might give people food, right? Yeah. We have a video that's a story about a fox that invites a stork for dinner. So that's going to be our story today. So I invite you all to watch our video together, and then we will talk about it.
The Fox and the Stork, retold and illustrated by Gerald McDermott. Long ago, there was a fox who lived in the forest. Fox liked to play tricks on his friends. One morning, Fox rowed his boat around the pond. He saw his friend Stork and said, "Would you like to come to my house for dinner?" Fox asked. "How kind of you to ask," said Stork. "Yes, I would like that." The next day, Stork went to Fox's house for dinner. She tapped on Fox's door with her long bill. "Come in," said Fox. "I made soup." "Wonderful," said Fox. "I like soup." Fox and Stork sat down to eat. Fox didn't put the soup in a bowl. He served it in a flat dish. Fox felt very smart. Stork couldn't eat from the flat dish. All she could do was dip the tip of her long bill into the soup. Fox soon slurped it all up. Stork was still hungry, but she didn't complain. "Thank you for the dinner," said Stork. "Come to my house and I'll make dinner for you." The next day, Fox rowed his boat to Stork's house. "I don't like to boast," said Stork, "but my soup is the best. I use greens that grow in my own garden." "Wonderful," said Fox. "Let's eat." Stork served the soup in a tall jar. Fox couldn't get a drop. All he could do was lick the top of the jar. Stork dipped in her long bill and drank it all up. Fox moaned and groaned as he rode home. "I'm so hungry. This is my reward for tricking a friend." At last, Fox saw that being kind to others is the right thing to do.
You can invite Nancy to come back up and explain about our Share the Plate this week.
Hello again. My name is still Nancy Frank, and my pronouns are she and her. As you may have read in the order of worship already, today's Share the Plate will benefit your local senior center. I am so grateful to be able to thank you for all of your contributions to the Share the Plate program this morning on behalf of the Palatine Township Senior Citizens Council. I am also grateful to be the Director of Social Services at the Palatine Township Senior Center for the past 11 years. Our Senior Center is a non-for-profit 501c3 organization which provides a variety of programs and services for older adults in the community for over the past 50 years. The Countryside Share the Plate program helps the Senior Center offer social programming, home-delivered meals for homebound older adults, lifelong learning, health services, recreation, travel groups, and financial and supportive services. These programs support the independence and well-being of those ages 50 and better, caregivers, and those with disabilities in the Palatine Township and throughout northern Illinois. Your contributions will help provide, for example, a caregiver a well-deserved break while their loved one with memory loss attends the Caring Hearts Adult Day program. The Social Services Department provided 5,650 units of service last year, assisting clients in applying for benefits and services such as help with prescription drug costs, application assistance for Medicaid, SNAP, utility assistance, license plate sticker discounts, and Medicare counseling in English, Spanish, Russian, Ukrainian, and Polish. We offer caregiver support groups, memory cafes, and grief support groups. Last year, during Medicare open enrollment, the social services team saved the clients a total of $96,674 by enrolling them into lower-priced prescription drug plans. Yay! We love to save money, right? Thank you again. We are very grateful for the support the Senior Center has received from CCUU. Giving thanks is an important part of living in a covenantal, self-supporting community. Your financial gifts show gratitude for how our congregation supports us all. We are widely grateful for you and this support. Without you, our mission to spread the faith of love could not evolve. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Following that beautiful music, I invite you to put your feet on the floor. Settle into your chair, let your shoulders drop. Take a deep breath in. Oh, a cleansing breath out. We have a reading by Chad Snyder, Love is Loud. Love, says the Old Covenant, is the spirit of this church. Love. I hope so, because love has things to say. Love is joy and laughter, giggles and silly love songs. But love speaks too to the real pain in the world. Love knows. It knows hate and fear, selfishness, greed, bullet and blade, the cutting edge of indifference. Love knows, and love does not let us turn away. It does not rest in thoughts and prayers. Love knows the names and says the names out loud, and will keep saying them until the day we hope against all that is holy, those names no longer need saying. Love is loud. Love clamors and applauds. It shuts down and fires up. Love calls to the margin, and not waiting for the echo, chases its voice to that margin. In song, in joyful noise, in apology for hurts caused. Love shifts the center until the margin isn't. Love does not suffer the suffering of others in silence, but resonates in silent space held for another's story. Love is the spirit of this church, if we choose it and give it voice. And if we make that choice, then in the noise and in the raucous joy and willing pain, righteous rage and the resounding silence, and in the cacophony of beautiful voices and possibilities, through all that holy racket, love will guide us. In love, we recognize the joys and concerns within our congregation this week. Please make sure that you contact one of us, the office, a member of the lay pastoral care team, or myself, to let us know what's going on with you in your life. Craig Wydell is recovering from surgery on his arm after a fall on the ice last week. We send love and wishes for quick healing to him and Pat, as these things tend to turn your household upside down for a little while. And we were recently reminded that there is a fund called the Laughlin Fund for senior lay people, UU senior lay people, which is available to help with eyeglasses or hearing aids or any other kinds of health-related aids. So if you could use help with something like that, please do contact the office or the lay pastoral care team. We have folks still recovering and preparing for surgery, and we keep them on our hearts this morning as well. For all those intentions which rest in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, know that you are held, know that you are loved. Please remain seated as we sing Spirit of Life.
The first reading today is by Richard Schwartz from No Bad Parts, Healing Trauma and Restoring Wholeness. Well-known neuropsychiatrist Dan Siegel has described the IFS, internal family systems, as a good way to achieve this. He writes, "Health comes from integration. It's that simple and that important. A system that is integrated is in a flow of harmony. Just as in a choir, with each singer's voice both differentiated from the other singer's voices, but also linked, harmony emerges with integration. What is important to note is that this linkage does not remove the differences, as in the notion of blending. Instead, it maintains these unique contributions as it links them together. Integration is more like a fruit salad than a smoothie." This, again, is one of the basic goals of IFS. Each part is honored for its unique qualities while also working in harmony with all the others. Thus ends the reading. Our second reading today is from Guest House by Jalaluddin Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Thus ends the reading.
You might have noticed a theme going on there. Lots of things about how none of us are only one thing. When I was in seminary, one of the things that they brought up a lot was a line from Ralph Waldo Emerson, that he was criticizing someone else in the very famous Point on Life, a very famous thing that he gave. And he wrote about this other person. He said, "Not a line did he draw out of real history. The true preacher can be known that he deals out to people his life, Life passed through the fire of thought. Life passed through the fire of thought. That's what we try to do. That's what they said we needed to do when I was in seminary. We're trying to use our own lives and then open them up and try to burn away all of the ego, all of the fear, all of the stuff that might tilt us in one direction or the other. Try to burn away, ooh, if I say this, I'm going to piss off the people that give a lot of money. Or, ooh, if I say this, I might not reach out to somebody who really needs to hear it. And I'm telling you all this because right now, I feel like I'm really wrestling with that question that I always bring to preaching. And the question is, what do they need to hear and what do I need to say? And where do those two things meet in the middle? But I am feeling like we have this wide spectrum of people right now in the church. And I'm not sure where all of you are. And I'm not sure what you need to hear. So mostly then I'm just on the what do I need to say stuff, and sometimes I run out of stuff to say. So today is the day talking about belonging from a couple different perspectives. So it might feel a little disjointed, but if you just roll with me, hopefully it'll go together in the end. That's what I'm saying. So while we don't have a very wide spectrum on the melanin scale in this church, we do have a pretty wide spectrum generationally. And I just came back from spending some time with some of my dear colleagues in Arkansas. And one of the things that we covered during the retreat was this book called Generation, and it's about generational divides. And so that's one of the spectrums that we have in this church that's pretty wide. The book is called Generations, The Real Differences Between Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, Boomers, and Silents, and What They Mean for American Future. And it's written by Jean Twenge. And Twenge posits that it's technology. That technology is the thing that separates all of the generations. Because they used to be much farther, and they're getting shorter and shorter and shorter because technology is turning over so quickly. So the first one that she talks about is the silent generation. She names it between 1925 and 45. And their technology? Home appliances. And then radio, and then a little bit of TV. But that changed people's lives. When you weren't spending the whole day washing clothes, that changed how you related to the world. And all kinds of other good home appliances that came up. And then the next one she talked about was the silent generation, which goes from the boomers, which goes from 1946 to 1964-ish. They're all ish. They're all you could be one way or another if you're on an edge. And the boomers grew up with television. They grew up with television, and they had air conditioning and birth control. Those were the technologies that shaped how they saw the world. For Gen X, that was me, and folks like me, we grew up with TV from infancy. I mean, it was always part of it. And then as we got older, we had the internet and social media. And that's about 1962, 65 to 79. And the next one is millennials. Millennials 80 to 1994. And the internet comes on board right when they do. And then that was followed quickly by social media and smartphones just as they reach puberty. So they have a totally different way of being in relationship because this technology was there since they were tiny. Gen Z has had the internet, smartphones, and social media since they were children. It's all just been there the whole time. And finally, those born after 2013 are called the polars in Twenge's book. And they are being shaped by having screens in every part of their lives. You can't get away from them. Now, we've always known that there are generation gaps, and this book tries to explain why, and it has dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of charts and graphs and all kinds of ways that you go, ooh, that's really cool, if you like charts and graphs. And it really explains how we see the world so differently, why boomers like phone calls, Gen X likes emails, millennials text, Gen Z seems to be coming back around to phone calls again, but only when it's really important. And so we all have these very different ways of what it looks like to be connected with people, what it looks like to be welcoming to people, how we include everyone. Because as a solid Gen Xer, I can call, but I much prefer emailing somebody. And I know for somebody else, email makes sense to my brain. It might not make sense to somebody else's brain. In fact, I know so many people prefer texting. How do you not lose them? How do you not forget to call people back? I still can't figure that out. That's why email me, please. This is a 30,000-foot difference, but it colors how we act in the world because we have all these different modes of ways to communicate that we have to remember on top of just the basics of communicating. How do we do that? And that's only one source of how we're different. We also have folks in this congregation across an ideological spectrum. It wasn't so apparent before January 20th, but now I'm very aware that there are some feeling terrified and overwhelmed by what might be happening to themselves or people that they love. And then there are other folks who are so insulated in some ways that they say I'm talking about what's going on too much. And so it's really hard to know how to reach out, how to talk to folks, how to meet them where you're at when we are on this wide spectrum of folks. We're all living in the same reality, but we're experiencing it very differently. And we're all on the same side of the country's huge divide, so imagine, you can't even start thinking about that. And still, this is what we come to church to talk about. What does it mean to belong? What does it feel like to belong? Are you one of those people that always feels comfortable and like they belong wherever they are? There are people like that. Or are you one of those folks that never quite sure? No matter, maybe you're in your family's living room and not sure you actually belong there. Or are you somewhere in between? Each of us have different ways, a lot from when we grew up, that lets us know where we fit into the world and if we fit into the world. And it's one of those very weird parts of being human that it can look like everybody in the room is having a great time and everybody is just fully belonging. And every single person in that room might be faking it. And we don't know, do we? We don't know unless we reach out and go, oh, I wasn't feeling it. Have you ever done that? Have you ever reached out to someone and go, I wasn't feeling it in there? And they go, yeah, me too. And you thought they were having a blast. Yeah, that's how it is. We don't know what's going on in other people's hearts and minds. And still we try to create beloved community. We try to create a place that can say, yes, come in. You're welcome. We want you here. I know my heart has always longed for that space, for that place. And I'm going to tell you, this church is not bad at it. You guys do pretty well. I'm sure there's some folks sitting in chairs or watching from home who aren't really sure they belong. They're just like, you're saying that, but I'm not sure I'm really supposed to be here. Who think belonging feels different than what they feel and wish that they were more certain that they were actually welcomed here. How do we do that? Because the biggest problem is that different people need different things to belong. Some people simply need somebody out front saying, hi, welcome, come on in. Some people want you to know their name, and that's not unreasonable. Some people might even need more to really know they belong here. You just don't know. So I want you to think for just a minute, what is it that you need? What is it that you need to make sure you feel like you belong? If you think for that for just a second, then share it with somebody around you. If there's not twos, make it be a three. Make sure everybody belongs. Nobody's left out of this conversation. Just take a minute and think, and then turn around and say what makes you feel like you belong. Did everybody get a chance to talk? I hope. I'm having some conversations. All right, I gotta ring the bell. I was gonna ring a bell, but I don't have one. So I'm gonna just call you on back. Yes, and if you have a great conversation going on, continue that conversation later. Find somebody else and ask them how they feel like they belong, okay? You can do that. For me, it's somebody looking in my eyes and feeling like I'm seen, like they see that I'm there. That they don't have to remember my name, and I'm going to confess over and over again, I am 63 years old, and so I know you, and I might not remember your name still, but I still know who you are. But I'm going to also confess that most ministers I know probably became ministers, so everybody would know their names, because we're a pretty needy bunch. But one way to experience closeness in a large group, a large church, is to be in smaller groups, and I think that's the thing that you guys do so well. So many book clubs, so many small interest groups, so many classes and choirs, and there's just a whole list of things that you'd like to get, and there's the whole list. That's the list that I came up that was in the e-news this week. So that's not even all the stuff. That's just what was, when I made a quick glance through the e-news, that all came up. So if you feel like you're here and you're not connected, find a small group, because sometimes it very much is hard to get connected with this many people, even in coffee hour for those of us. It's hard to just jump into a conversation when you don't do it all the time. But look at some way that you can get involved, that you can get to know people in a small way. I remember when I was younger, when we moved to a new church, the first thing I did was volunteer to help clean something. Because when you're cleaning with somebody, you have great conversations, and then you feel like you really belong to that church when you've cleaned it. That's not a hint, it's just sharing from my own experience. I just realized it could sound like I'm hinting, sorry. But we all come from vastly different experiences. We come from different families, different places in birth order. We've lived in different communities around the country, and we have different ancestors, different cultural backgrounds, different ethnicities. And next week, we're going to be talking about what maybe a post-racial, post-something world might look like. But today, we're just looking at how different we all are right now and how we can bring all of ourselves to that. And so that takes me to the next topic in this meandering sermon this morning. And this one is what the title comes from. It's called No Bad Parts. And that refers to a book that I read. It describes internal family systems, which is a relatively new way of understanding human psychology. It's a therapy that sees each one of us as being made up of many different parts. And some of our parts are helpful, some parts are not. Some parts make us jump up and do the dishes every single time. Some parts have meltdowns and cause us to act really badly. It's based on the work of Dr. Richard Schwartz, a psychologist who noticed that his patients seemed to bring up different aspects of their personality, and when he talked to those personalities directly, they responded. He observed that each one of us has many parts. Have you ever said, part of me wants to go for a walk, but part of me wants to take a nap? That's a very obvious one. But that's one part of us wants to be healthy, and one part of us just like, screw it, I'm tired. And most of them are harmless, but we have parts that may have split apart when we were very young, that somehow got broken away a long time ago, and they don't realize that we are grown-ups and everything is okay. And it's often these parts that can cause us to have a huge reaction to something that seems harmless on the surface, a meltdown of our nervous system, which often leads to some kind of conflict. Now, you might have heard of multiple personality disorder, which is now called dissociative identity disorder. And these people who have suffered extreme trauma and had their psyche split into multiple personalities. Some of you might remember the Three Faces of Eve from the late 50s, when this idea first came to popularity. But internal family systems is similar, but not a pathological condition, because everybody has had some bit of trauma at some point in their life, usually when we're kids, and that breaks off a part of us that kind of stays that age forever. And if there's a parent around when we're having that trauma, there's somebody to calm us down, there's someone to teach us what we need to do, then usually we're fine, we integrate, we're good. But no life is ever perfect. Sometimes as kids, you're left on your own and you just have to figure out a way to get through it. And that's when this part might take over. And it comes online because the person is too small or unable to protect themselves, so it does something to maintain the psychological safety. It can cause a meltdown, it can dissociate, it can bring up so much anger that the bullies just run away. And these parts are protectors that have helped us to live to another day, whether mentally or physically. So even if a triggering event brings up a tremendous amount of anger over something quite small, their core reason for existing all the time was to keep you, me, all of us safe. And the interesting thing that Dr. Schwartz found was that the very best way to heal was to just love them. I thought that was so sweet, that the answer is love, even when we're talking about parts of us that we might have carried around since we were kids. Because he said when you listen to that part's story, when you ask the person from that part's perspective, they're going to tell you what happened. They're going to tell you, they're going to bring up memories. And then that part, when it realizes it doesn't have to protect you all the time, often brings wisdom and joy and love that was there all the time that you couldn't access because it was stuck protecting you from some long time ago in your history. And doing this therapy myself, I realized that I have this part that can feel like I'm going to die if somebody yells at me. Just yells at me. I'm a grown-up, I could be yelled at, but if it hits me just the right moment, I will shut down. I can't do anything about it. It's not rational, it's not helpful, it's left over from very, very early childhood trauma. But knowing this and getting to know that part has allowed me to realize, oh, that's happening right now. And so since I know that's happening, I don't have to act from it. I don't have to do anything. I just sit and pay attention, breathe, let all those chemicals that jumped into my body just go out again so that I can be present again and be who I am. There's all kinds of things that you could, touch your nose. There's all these things that you can do that bring you out of the reaction of your body and bring you back to this reality and this acknowledgement that you're an adult and you're okay. And whatever's going on with that isn't going to hurt you. Karen and I both have come to a place where we can notice when the other one is reacting and just go, this is going on. Should we take a minute? And then we can get to a better place very quickly. And when we do this work, when we reintegrate these parts, we become richer and fuller and stronger humans. And there's a lot more, if you're interested, there's there's a Dr. Tori Olds who has a whole series of videos which describe it really well, really clearly. And I know personally a few people who have done this work and have just changed their life in the way that they can respond to the world. And so that's why I'm sharing it with you this morning. And one of the basics of the no bad parts is that it doesn't matter what the part makes you do. It doesn't matter if it's the part that makes you erupt and be incredibly angry and terrible to people. If you meet that part where it is, if you ask it why it's doing what it's doing, it's giving you a gift. And if you extend that love of your grown-up self to that part, you can bring it in. No matter, it's that thing that if we try to get rid of those things we don't like, if we try to get rid of our shadow sides, they just grow. But if we love them, if we bring them in, we can become the people that we really want to be. Okay. I keep going off script, so who knows? Okay. For most of us, it's enough to be aware that we might be more than one thing, because it allows us to act from a place of humility, a place of kindness and wonder, in knowing that everybody else is fighting with their own more than one thing. But here's the takeaway that I want to share with all of you today. This world is made up of humans who have vastly different experiences, who have vastly different learnings, who have vastly different heritage and ethnicity, even when we all kind of look alike. Both externally and internally, our personalities have been socialized by all kinds of things, by our generations, by society, by the prejudices that lived in our families, by the churches we grew up in. And within us, most of us have parts that can cause us trouble, can act up and cause problems in our lives. And on top of that, we have, generational trauma. We have socialization of which class we were born in or came up in. We have systemic and structural racism that is all around us. And the human belief that I'm safer with people who look just like me. Those are all really hard things. It's amazing we can talk to each other at all. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't try, right? It means that we each just have to be aware of what we're bringing and have to be aware of building our own toolkits, our own ways that we can have something that helps us stand up on tiptoe and see beyond what we're bringing to any situation. It means that kindness and humility might be the strongest tools we ever have. So I want you to be thinking about what tools do you already have in order to be able to reach beyond what you think you know, what you think you experience about the world. And what would you like to learn? We've been in conversation with Pat Wydell and Rick Rayborn about what kinds of classes, on top of all the other amazing things you're doing, might be helpful. So do you have something you might want to share? Because back to the cleaning, it's the things that we bring, the things that ourselves are vulnerable and might let ourselves bring to other people are the places that are the easiest to connect up with folks. So would you like to share a class on internal family systems, the layperson's version? Just read the book together? Would you want to teach a nonviolent communication class? Would you want to lead a discussion of the Generations book? I think that'd be fascinating. Would you want to have a grief group or a friendship class or a survey on structural racism, an exploration of human gender science? There's all kinds of things. What would you like to bring and offer that might make a way for another small group to pop up, another way to connect, another way to make sure we all have that feeling of belonging? This is a tremendously gifted collection of people, and yet each of us comes from our own particular perspective and place. We create beloved community by remembering that. We create beloved community by making space within ourselves for all the difference in the world, and by doing our own work to see beyond the limitations we bring with us into every situation. The world outside is going a little wacky, mostly by people who think that they can create a safe place that's all one thing, that they don't ever have to feel uncomfortable. We know that's not possible or even desirable. Life is full and rich and warm when we are surrounded by people who think and understand and celebrate a little differently than we do. It offers us depth and texture, flavors and aromas that we would never experience otherwise. How boring would that be? Belonging feels wonderful. And it's even better when we're sure everybody else has a place at the table. Amen, and blessed be.
Please join in saying our closing words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 323.
Please be seated. Just a quick thank you so much for this beautiful music today. We're really appreciative. Thank you. Pardon me? Yay, they feel like they belong. Yay. And they do that for us as well. And a reminder that we're going to be having a cottage meeting directly after the service. If you're on Zoom, you can stay on Zoom. It will continue. It's going to just go over all the why you should pledge. It's all the whys and hows and all the information that you'll say later on, well, I didn't know that. If you stay today, you will. So you're welcome to stay. We're going to do one more thing. Yes, I'm going to do a benediction. That's what we're going to do. And then we'll have another bit of music from the choir. But then if you want to stand up and walk around, but come right back. So our closing benediction, never one thing. I am the truth. I am a lie. I am the ground. I am the sky. I am the silence. I am the call. Never one thing. No, not one thing at all. Be blessed, whatever one thing you are today. Amen.